Hi, everyone. So happy you're all here. It's really sweet to see all your faces. I'm pleased to welcome you into this shared digital space. I hope you're all keeping warm and healthy out there. My name is Jacob. I'm the program coordinator for Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association's Fair Farms program, where we seek to foster the comprehensive food ethic, where social stewardship is paramount with stewardship of the land. And the string of relations from soil to plate is as just and fair as possible. So we do this kind of by focusing on the interrelated issues of fair pricing for farmers and fair wages and labor standards for farm workers through education and technical assistance. This is the first of our educational events we're doing, so we're really happy to have such a good turnout and see so many familiar faces here. Yeah, just a few housekeeping things before I introduce our speaker. Please keep yourself muted throughout the presentation so we can keep down on background noise. And if you do have questions or comments related to the presentation, I invite you to stick those in the chat and we'll address as many of them as we can at the end of the Q&A session with Ellen. Also, just a friendly reminder that this is being recorded, so it'll be a resource hosted on the OFA website for folks who can't join us. So yeah, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Ellen Polishuk, who is a biological farm consultant and founder of Plant to Profit, the organization through which she provides education and consultations for growers around everything from labor and whole farm business management to soil fertility and advanced organic vegetable production. She's got 35 years of farming under her belt and is now devoted to this teaching and consulting work full time. I'll go ahead and drop a link to Plant to Profit here in the chat. Yeah, we're really grateful to have Ellen here today to share her expertise on interrelated issues of calculating full cost of production, fair pricing, and labor compensation. The session you found yourself at today is kind of a course teaser, which will introduce these concepts. And the next session on March 7th we'll dig a bit deeper into the kind of practical logistics of how you're going to get these numbers, get your numbers for this growing season. So more information about that event in the multi-part course Ellen will be teaching next winter, which will actually be playing with those numbers after you've gathered them from the year. That's all on OFA's website on the event page. And if you got an email this morning, there's a link in there. And again, I mentioned it, but if you're here, if you're registered for this event, you're automatically registered for March 7th. So no need to re-up on registration. So yeah, I think that's all. And with that, yeah, thank you again for being here. And I'll pass the mic to Ellen.
Whoa, all right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for turning on your cameras, and it makes my life more interesting. And it makes this feel like we're really in the same place, even though you're all over the country. So I appreciate any faces that I can see. Thank you, Diane. All right. And we have a lot of folks at this meeting right now, about 29 people right this minute. And as Jacob said, I'm gonna take your questions mostly at the end, unless there's something like some kind of a mistake or something is really not making sense. Jacob has I've given him the permission to interrupt me at any time. So if there's something that's not making sense or something that's technically wrong, please put it in the chat. Jacob's gonna keep his eyes on it. And then when we get to the end, he's gonna bring these more questions to the fore, okay? Yeah, so this can be a standalone session. You know, you're gonna get something out of our experience today for sure. And my hope is that what you're gonna get today is gonna create an appetite in you to want to get more. And so that's why we're calling this a teaser, because I want you to come on a journey with me. And today is my pitch. All right. My pitch is to come on a journey to learn more about the economic aspects of your farm. Okay. So I'm going to jump into PowerPoint, your favorite. Remember, that you have the controls on your screen in order to change how big the slides are versus how big the group, all the faces of the participants are. And so feel free always to keep moving that line so that you have the most fun possible. All right, everybody cool? I love hand gestures. Yay. Oh, thank you. You're doing so good. And this is my favorite one. This is one I was taught by an internet, a Zoomtown expert. And that is, oh, I love what you just said. That's so cool. Yeah, that one works too, Jennifer. That's great. So all the hand gestures you want, I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled on you. Okay, here we go into PowerPoint land. Okay, so this is what I just told you a second ago, and that is, this is the teaser. How can we pay our people better if we don't know what's going on with the numbers? That's the topic for today. All right, now let me fix this screen so I can see you over here, gallery. There we go. There's my people. All right, cool. All right, these are the boring ones, but I just want to set the tone. Where are we right now that we are having this conversation? So where we are right now is that demand is up still during the pandemic. And as we've ridden this crazy ride, the demand for local food continues to rise. At the same time, we have kind of an exacerbating circumstance that's made it possibly harder than ever for us to get and retain good folks to work for us on the farm. The labor market is tighter, right? We hear about it. Kai Rizdal is talking about it pretty much every night on Marketplace. It's on all the news channels, right? The market is super tight. People are quitting. Farming has always struggled and very frequently complaining about labor. But we see that wages are rising across the board, especially in the service sector, right? In the lower tiered positions, wages are increasing in other employment opportunities. And so I think that also at the same time, especially the longer any of you've been in this game, this farming game, we're seeing how important it is to have trained employees, to have people get trained quickly, and then to stay long enough that they actually are really contributing to the effectiveness, efficiency, and happiness of your farm. So that's the setting up of the now. And so this is the question. This is one way to phrase the question that we're gonna chew on. How can you raise wages on your farm? This could be for any business, but we're going to talk about farms. And I want to get really nitty gritty about the semantics. Because I said, how can you raise wages on your farm? So that's a per hour number for the people that work for you. So here's my proposition, and here's my invitation. And this is to reinforce your understanding and your opinion, to invite your opinion about how much is a trained employee worth, right? And I don't often hear this kind of conversation in farming. They just say, well, if I raise everybody $1 an hour, I'm going to run out of money. Okay, so let's just run through these numbers a little bit. And so I am going to posit to you that a second-year return worker is at least 25% more effective at their job than they were the first year that they worked for you. I think that's the low ball. Anybody think that's high ball or low ball? Low ball, yeah. Okay, so then I did a little math over here. And so here's a chart. This is the effectiveness of a first-year worker is just what it is. It's one level of effectiveness. And the wage of that person is $12 an hour. Let's just pretend. The second-year worker is 1.25 times, is an effectiveness of 1.25, which means for the same amount of work to get done, we can afford to pay that person $15 an hour just because they're better. Okay, so that means that these are the same cost per unit of work, a first-year person at 12 or a second-year person at 15. Does that follow? You following my logic? Okay, so where does that get us? And this may be all you need to know, and you're going to hang up, and we'll see you next year. That means you can raise the wages for anyone that's an existing worker who's coming back for next year or has already been with you for a year or more. If you're going to also then hire less people, or you're going to let everybody work less. And so then you're going to end up spending the exact same amount of money on labor as you did last year. You following me? So that may be what you're up to, is that you're going to invest in the people that you have. You're going to pay them well enough that they're going to stay with you for this whole 2022 season. And your actual labor cost to your farm is going to remain static, the same. Okay, that may work for you. So I just want to really parse this out. Like, okay, we fixed it. That may be it. We should just hang up and be done. Here's the second question. Maybe this is your question. How can you raise the total labor that you're spending on your farm? You want to keep all your people and you want to pay everybody better, right? So you want to end up spending more money on labor as a total percent of your gross, possibly. Or you just want to raise rates across the board for everybody. And that's a much more difficult nut to crack, okay? And so that's what we're going to work off of this question for the rest of the time. Is that cool? Do you see that there's a difference between one and the other? But let's keep in mind that effectiveness piece, because it will play in for us later. So if this question is, how can I raise total labor compensation on my farm without firing anyone or letting anyone go, then that becomes this question. How can I spend more on labor and still make a profit? I'm just playing a semantic game with you. And in the essence, that then becomes, how can my farm be more profitable or be profitable at all? I don't know where you're coming from, or, but let's just put it that way. So I'm focusing us down now into this lane about farm profitability. Okay, so let's stick with this for a little bit. And here's a slide to remind me to talk about profitability as, yep, it's a numbers game, but it's also a psychological game. It's also a mindset. And I think that historically in our sector of sort of smaller scale, sustainable / organic / regenerative, whatever word makes you happy. In our sector, we've been afraid or ashamed of talking about profitability. Like only Walmart is worried about profitability, but we're better than that. And so we're not going to talk about it. And somehow all the bills are going to get paid. And so this is my invitation to you to decide that you actually care about this, that profitability, the economic piece, is deeply important to you because it matters. You know how mindset works. So this profitability game is a mindset game. Now we'll do some of the number part, but just keep that in, just think about that when we hang up. Like, is this really a game you want to play? Do you really want to make more profit so that you can give it to your people? Okay, so here's the basic formula for business, right? We have what are we gonna, we sell some stuff, it cost us some stuff, and then we get what's left at the bottom. And for the conversation for today, I'm going to call this profit, and out of profit is going to come my paycheck as the owner. This may or may not be the technicality of how you work your books, but for the conversation that we're having today, profit is going to then go to owner's return, my paycheck, extra employee compensation. This is to keep whatever it is, higher wages, healthcare benefits, paid time off, whatever it is, it's going to cost more money. And we also take our capital expenses out of here, our capital improvements that we do to the hardscape of our farms. So that's the simple equation that's our fundament. That's where we're starting. Whoops. And we're going to talk about profit management. How can we get our hands around profit? It's one thing to just say, well, I'm just going to be more profitable. And that's like, I have an ongoing disgruntlement with my husband sometimes because he says, I'm just going to be a better person. And I'm like, well, that sounds good, but what are you actually going to do? Like sometimes that's too amorphous, right? It's just too vague. I'm like, well, tell me specifically, what are you going to do better? Okay. So I want to break down profitability into like pieces that you can get your hands around. So let's break down what is sales. Sales is I sold some stuff at this price, at a certain price. Okay. What is cost? These are agricultural costs. Here's a livestock person's cost of the animals themselves, the feed, blah, blah, blah. Here's more of a vegetable grower's or a grain grower's cost, growing, harvesting, selling, and overhead. And all this is what you can manage. This is how you do profit management. And so here's another graphic, if this helps you. And I really like this, talking about moving the levers. What can you put your hands on and actually start to change in your business so that you come out with a different result? So these are the same things I just showed you with this beautiful lever, GIF or whatever it is from the internet. We got sales, price, and quantity. We've got operating costs. We got labor costs, and we got overhead costs. These are all the ways we can access what's going to end up at the bottom, right? All right. Is everybody? Are we all cool and kind of you holding with me here? We're making sense. All right. Sweet. So I'm going to talk about profitability some more. So how do you know what's profitable for you on your farm? Do you know which of your enterprises are profitable? And by enterprise, cut flowers versus vegetables versus laying hens. Those would be three different enterprises. Do you know which crops inside of an enterprise is more profitable? Do you know which market channels of yours are more profitable? Do you know about a certain season that is more or less profitable for you, right? Some people are specializing in being on the other side of the calendar, growers, right? They're gonna make their big splash is gonna be during the colder months. These are these things that you have that you know about your business. And here's me having a little bit of an attitude saying, I bet you don't know pretty much any of that, okay? That's normal in our sector. But it doesn't mean it's good, right? It's dysfunctional. If you're gonna be in business, you gotta get your hands on the levers, okay? So let's talk some more about let's talk about what you do know. And this is my guess because I know enough of you and I've been you, I am you. I'm going to guess what you do know. You know what's in your bank account. This is financial numbers. You know what's in your bank account. You know who you owe money to, right? Big loans, credit cards, whatever, mortgages. And you might have a profit and loss statement that either your accountant, your CPA is spitting out, or that you actually are doing through some kind of software. Okay, this is what I think you know right now. What do you really know about crop by crop, anything, expenses or incomes? I bet you might know how much money coming into your farm is due to tomatoes. I bet you would know that. Or you would know how much of money coming in is egg money. And I bet that you might have a sense of how much, this is how much I gross per acre or per square foot or whatever unit works for your farm. I bet you have that. And I bet if I said, what do you really know about the profitability of your market channels, I bet you would just only know how much money you're bringing in through each channel, just the gross income, and that you have no clue if that channel is truly profitable because you haven't assessed what it really costs you to do that market channel, whatever it is, CSA, roadside stand, farmer's market, wholesale. That's what I'm guessing is what you know. And here's my big bossy mama lady telling you that's not good enough. Okay, we got to play a better game. We got to play a bigger game in this farming as a business if you're going to be able to keep making a living for yourself and pay your people better so they actually stick around. All right, if we want folks to stay with us, they have to make enough money to have a real life, right? It's just freaking makes sense, right? So these are the things you're going to need to know. Which crops and enterprises are really making the money on your farm? Which ones are, where's your golden goose? Who's really bringing home the money? Which of your market channels is really the one that's the most profitable for you, that's not a loser? Who's your winner in terms of market? Is your core production, well, no matter what you're growing, your main job is that you're a producer. You're taking ingredients and you're creating a product through agriculture. Is your core growing practice profitable, or is your farm floating truly on grants and other, what we call other income, leases, grants, whatever it is, other income that's not actually related to your core business, which is growing stuff? That's a really important thing to identify. We need to tease out other incomes, okay? I'm not going to say that grants are bad. I'm not making any judgment. I'm just saying we got to know where the money's coming in from, all right? And then from a financial standpoint, just to sum this all up, while this is saying who's bringing home the bacon, who is trying to sink the ship, right? What crop is such a huge loser that you would be better if you just stayed in bed than to grow it? Like you're actually going to market and paying people to take the food off your hands. That's how unprofitable that crop is. All right, is that, I think that language is harsh enough that I think you're getting my message here, right? So who's trying to sink the ship? Anybody need anything? You're good? Anybody having any problems? We're all good. Okay. So what we're trying to talk about is getting a handle on the full cost of production. And Shiloh, you've heard this, you've heard most of this from me a few times already, and I'm glad to see you're back for another dose. Just like any other learning that we do. Every time you read the same book, like you get another thing out of it, right? It's like, oh, there's another layer or another meaning. This is the same kind of thing. You just keep going deeper. All right. So let's talk about full cost of production. So this is super simplified. We already, there's what does it cost us to grow? I'm a vegetable grower by trade, so I always talk in vegetable terms. So forgive me, livestock people and grain people. We grow, we wash, we got a lot of washing, and we pack. So that's the unit cost of production to get the thing in the box or the bag or the crate. Then we got to go and get somebody to trade us money for that box full of stuff. And then we got to like do all the background, right? We got to do the back of the house stuff. We got to keep the lights on. We got to pay our mortgage. And that's what we call general management and admin. The other language could be variable costs plus fixed cost equals all the costs. In my experience with growers, y'all are pretty good on what does it cost you to grow stuff? Because those are things they're pretty high in your mind. You're not usually as good at what is it costing you to go take things to market. And you're really out of touch, I think, with how heavy your overhead is to the nimbleness of your business and the profitability of your business. That gets like not enough looks, in my opinion. So here's just a few more slides about what we're going to be doing on this journey together over the next year. So anytime we're going to change something in a big way in our business, whether it's adding a whole nother enterprise, dropping one of your market channels, like I have growers telling me, I'm done with CSA, I can't take it anymore. Or people saying, I'm going to invest in a farm store. That's going to be the future. Anytime you're going to approach a big change like that, and the change we're talking about is paying people a living wage, hello, you're going to have to get super into the weeds. So here's another, like I'm talking about the same things, but from different angles or different tools. So we're going to get into the financial numbers. We got to get into the numbers. And here's another way to look at those numbers. This is a QuickBooks printout from my business before I retired from farming. This was my P&L. You don't need to look at the numbers. What you need to know is it was 12 pages long and it was organized by alphabets, right? Because that's how QuickBooks gives you your chart of accounts from A to Z. They don't organize it in any logical fashion. There's no logic beyond alphabetization, okay? And so this is sad face. And this was me after being in business for 24 years with QuickBooks. I still didn't know how to use my chart of accounts to help me run my business, okay? What I want for you is, here's a P&L shrunk down. I threw out a ton, I cleaned it up, I reorganized it, and I made it super simplified so that I can see things very quickly. What's the status here? How am I doing? And I know this is all still too small for you, but you can just tell it's all on one page, okay? Ain't no 12 pages, and there's indentations that are really important. These are just big numbers: income, regular expenses, other stuff, all right? Then I want to introduce you to looking at your profit and loss sheet that's now cleaner and more organized. And now I want you to look at what happened 2 years ago, last year, and then we're going to look at the coming year. We're going to start to project. And it's going to start to look like this. Sorry, the words on my screen are super falling off the page on the left. But this is some work I did just last week with another grower. This is her, and I do apologize, but maybe I'll just fix it. Like, get over here. Okay. Here's her P&L, total income. This is the shortest P&L you can imagine, right? Income, outgo, net operating expense, income, total income at the bottom. But what I want you to see is, here's her 2020 numbers, here's her 2021 numbers, and then here's the fun part, the colors. And this is where we come in and do some shenanigans in Excel. We start to say, well, what's the trend from one year to another? Are things increasing or decreasing? And then we start to say, well, how is this payroll expense? What is it related to? It's related to percent of sales. Or if I were to expand this, when we look at overhead costs, they're fixed. That's why we call them fixed expenses. They're kind of like set. And so they don't change so much over time. That's how we're going to arrange our P&L, is by how, is it a fixed expense or a variable expense? That's how we're going to play this game. And then I said to her, all right, lady, in order to see, she had this exact question. I want to pay my people more. I'm going to raise everybody at least $1, and some people $2, and some people $3 an hour more. And so we played this game. Can she do it? And so then in this column, I told her, you're not obviously seeing everything. Put in the numbers as best you know them, because she was worried about supplies costing more money, 2022, right? Everything's going up. Fertilizer's going up. Fuel's going to go up. All kinds of supplies are going up. So I said, fill in the numbers as best you know them, either an exact dollar figure or a percent increase. Right? And she just said, I think supplies are going to go up by 15% in cost. So we applied all those numbers, and then we come to this final category. All right, if everything you say, guess, comes to be true, here's the bottom line. You're going to lose, it's not going to work. You're now at a loss of 57 grand. And this was not happy news for her, right? And she took it well. And I was like, well, we're going to have to look at this some more. I was like, well, you can't really decrease your sales by 13% and increase wages by 20%. That's just not going to work, dude. So the point is, we're playing this game, and now we can start to have a conversation. Now, what are you going to do? And then what? Okay, well, how's that going to play out? All right. Does that work? No, that doesn't work. All right. Do you want to cut those wages, those raises back a little bit? What else can you do to achieve your goal? And she is loving this process that we're going through. That's where I want us to go as a group, is into that level of minutia. Okay. I think it's super fun. Maybe it's a total turnoff to you, as you wish, you know. And then I want to come back now and revisit this crop and market evaluation piece. And there's different tools. We haven't decided exactly what we're going to do with them, but here's some tools that exist in the world. And I'm going to show these numbers. I'm going to show you come from my farming history. And the point is, any of the numbers are not like the numbers that will be true for everyone. They're just my farm's numbers. Okay. So through the process of using a tool called the Veggie Compass, I came to learn who were my big winner crops, actual crop by crop profitability. And so just for fun, this is what I thought was true before I actually looked into it with like a magnifying glass and like really figured it out. So and then here's what actually happened when I actually did the numbers. Okay. And so what you can see is right off the top, basically, I knew that we were running a tomato-based economy. And it turns out I was right. So even when I got into the minutia, tomatoes are what float this boat. Okay, so we don't need to get into it anymore. specifically, because again, that's not the point. But you can see, this is the fun part. What do you think's going on? And are you right? Is basically the question. And I was like, 60% right. That's pretty good. Just as fun, what things are losers on your farm? Here's the things that I had a feeling were losers. And anybody who's a vegetable grower, you're probably right with me. But then when I did the numbers, what did I find out? Oh, cauliflower wasn't so bad because it's really heavy. Oh, leeks, super loser. Oh, cut flowers are not a loser at all. Here's more losers right here. All right. So what you do with this information, that's a whole other story, right? I'm not saying you cannot grow broccoli. I'm saying if you know that broccoli is a loser, you better not grow very much broccoli. You only grow broccoli for your most favorite people. Don't grow it for everybody, just the gold star customers, whoever that is, whether it's your CSA or even a wholesale account, whatever it is, you have to decide who gets the precious broccoli. Because if you grow more broccoli, the hole in the bottom of your boat is getting bigger and you are going to sink faster. Okay. And then I know this is super too much information. It's too many words. It's too many colors. But let me just give you the quickest way to look at this. This is what I call the winner circle. So these are crops by profitability. Now, just to be confusing a little bit or a little bit TMI, there's different ways to measure profit. Okay, so there's most profitable by net profit, meaning for each individual unit, which is the most profitable vegetables on my farm. That's this category, and I've color coded the crop. So anytime you see bright red, it's the same crop. This category is which one is the most profitable in total net profit. Now that is on my farm, how many of those units could I sell and actually turn into money? So this is not just the profitability of the crop in absentia. This is the profitability on my farm and can I sell it? So for instance, eggplant makes it onto the top 10 list, but it's not on this list because how much freaking eggplant can you sell, right? Who wants to eat eggplant? I don't want to eat eggplant. There's like 10 people that want to eat eggplant and nobody else. So it can be super profitable in and of itself as an eggplant, but you can't grow an acre of eggplant. You're going to have to disc it. Okay. So, and then the last column is gross profit. This is getting into the weeds, but this is a little more of like, how good are you at growing this crop before you sell it and before overhead? This is like, just from a variable cost perspective, how good are you at growing the crop? So what you see here is no matter what category you're in, my boat is floated by squash and tomatoes. Yeah, that's important for me to know. All right, that's what I want for you to know. Who's floating the boat? All right, the tool that I use is called Veggie Compass to make those discoveries. There's also a livestock compass. We got some livestock people on here today. And it's a little bit overwhelming, and that's why I'm here, is to hold your hand. Unless you are a super agile, spreadsheets don't scare you none, then get in there and start thrashing around, okay? Then you don't need me. I'm not going to talk about that, but these are screenshots that come out of the Veggie Compass, like the aha moments, right? And so it gets into profitability by crop and by market channel. So you can look at, well, because do you sell everything at the same price no matter where? No. Does it cost you the same thing to sell it at the farmer's market as it does to CSA, as it did to wholesale? Of course not. So this is the matrix, whoop, where it puts it all together. Crop, profitability by market channel. Woo! It does not get any sexier than this when we're into profitability conversation. This is the juicy stuff, okay? And that's what you're going to end up with on your crops. And here's what you end up with in terms of your channels, your whole market channels. So see, you see this here? This is my whole life right here. CSA, farmers market, wholesale, roadside stand, the things I bought, the things I grew and sold. And then here is my little buying and selling thing over here. And then the bottom line is who's actually profitable as a whole market channel. My whole program, I'm running my whole farm profits on farmers market. CSA is holding its own, but farmers market's where my good money, extra money comes from, okay? That doesn't mean that's true for you. This is for me. Here, look at my roadside stand. I'm losing money. Oh, look at buying and reselling stuff. The simplest thing there is. Can't do that right. I'm losing money on buying and selling. Okay. This is really good information for you. So this is the last slide. This was a whirlwind tour. This is the same slide we saw before. What are you gonna need to know in order for you to make those numbers work on your farm? This is what we're gonna work on. All those things. And so the next session, we're gonna start getting into the weeds about how are you gonna, what numbers do you really truly need to collect for during this coming season, 2022, so that we can play those games next winter together. We can look at that P&L. We can project into the future. We can assess market channels. We can assess crop by crop or enterprise by enterprise profitability, okay? That's the invitation. And I'm gonna stop now so that we have a chance for some interaction. We've got 15 minutes to mess around and open the floor, okay? So let me get the heck out of the way. And there we are, everybody's here.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks so much for that wealth of information, Ellen. Yeah,
and with a little fire hose. So sorry.
Right. Yeah. With the last 15 minutes we have, yeah, we're gonna move into Q&A. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and we'll address as many as we can. Also, I think there's 30 of us here. If you want to use the hand raise function, I will call on you and you can unmute yourself. So feel free to do either of those things, and yeah,
I didn't look at a single thing in the chat because I can't. My head will explode.
One thing that Matt mentioned is that when you were going through the PVF winners and losers, a few things could be losers in one time of the season, spring or summer, and winners in other times of the season.
Yeah,
a good point.
Good point. And there's certainly seasonal fluctuation, right? Some years you just have like something. There's a really good reason why something sucked. Like, oh, all the seeds didn't come up. I bought bad seed, or it was old seed, right? So you can't make drastic decisions based on 1 year's worth of data. But you know that stuff. You're the one with your hands in the dirt. And you know, oh, the reason why green beans sucked is because we planted them the farthest away and the deer ate them all. Well, is that green beans' fault? No. That's the deer fault. So we have to throw our minds and our bodies and our impressions into this when we get to the what am I going to do about these numbers? For sure. Good. I love that.
And someone else asked, what are the fees for the Compass programs?
Free. You can go get them right now. All free downloads. They come out of University of Wisconsin. And 2 super awesome humans up there that are dedicated to us all staying in business. All free.
Yeah, amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, anyone else?
And I got other tools that I didn't show you, but they're free too.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions for Ellen or comments on the material covered today?
Oh, come on. Let's do some chatting. Oh, good.
There we go. Matt
Well,
asked, what
You want
other
me to go?
tools-
Okay, sorry. I see Shiloh raised her hand too. I don't really know what the hand raising, I don't know where that button is, so I'll just do it like this.
Yeah.
I guess I would just generally point out that, I'm sure everybody feels this way. Everything you said just makes sense. And it's, as long as I've been farming, it's difficult to do those kinds of calculations in my experience on 40 or 50 crops.
Yep.
I tend to do, I'll pick like 3 or 4 or 5 that I have serious doubts about and do those. And that's
Yes.
all I can manage in a season.
Yes.
And then I can say, well, that one's out of it. I did that with flowers recently, and I came to the same conclusion as you. They were actually making money, and I was surprised.
Yes.
So I guess my larger question / issue will be, I have struggled forever. How do we do this and drill down on those numbers on everything? Or is that even what the goal is, to do 40 or
Well,
50?
everybody can have their own goal.
Right.
So depending on how complex your farm is and how terrible you are at keeping data, and like what's your appetite really would be. But I love, so we'll start, the possibility is the full Monty, the whole enchilada, and we'll crank it down to, I'm going to track 2 crops, dude. Right? I'm going to pick one thing that I think is floating my boat, and I'm going to pick one that is so close to the chopping block, and this is going to push me to one side or the other. Could be the same for market share. So we can carve out areas, same as enterprise. I really want to know if those eggs are losing me money. The answer is yes. I don't have to look at your numbers. I'm pretty sure you're losing money on eggs because that's what everybody's doing. Or it could be market channel, right? Like, obviously, we're not going to do this analyzing till next fall, winter. But by then, you may have ideas about, I'm sick of CSA. Can I live my life? Can I meet my goals and pull out of a whole market channel? I'm sick of giving my Saturday to market. What would happen if I stopped going to market? So we can get as big and juicy or as very specific as we need to, smaller and smaller scope. Good, awesome question. Thanks.
Yeah, and Shiloh's got a raised hand here. Go ahead, Shiloh.
Okay, I think I did it.
You did.
So early, hi Ellen.
Hi.
Early in the program you were talking about, this is maybe not related to pricing, but you were talking about effectiveness of employees being,
Yeah.
1.25 times. Where does that level off?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what do you think?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean the 1.25 is I'm just totally stabbing in the dark on it. But I have experience and I've been around.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of people. I mean, I imagine that the true difference between first year and second year is more than 1.25. I bet it's closer to 1.5. And so I was actually sort of being as conservative as I could. But I would say, shooting from the hip, probably 3 to 4 years, I bet you level off.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
in terms of like, how fast are they going to pick kale, right, is going to level off. I mean, that's going to level off probably during year 2. But then what's happening, we think, or we might imagine, is that then at year 3, 4, now this person isn't even picking kale that much. Now they're making sure everybody else is picking kale. So now they're actually doing even higher level work, and they may be worth even more.
And then what do I do?
You're going to just go to the Bahamas and hang out. No, the theory is, and at some point, right, we are not Coca-Cola, and we are not looking at infinite growth curve, and conquering the universe. Like there is an end to the story. And then, let's just put it this way, Shiloh. There's like, let's talk about Richard Wiswall, right? He's one of our elder statesmen in the movement, right? He's 70 or something, up in Vermont. He's been at this for a million years. And I interviewed him 3 years ago on his farm, and he's like, I don't really do anything. I just hang out with my grandkids, and my workers are here. They're 5th and 6th and 7th year workers. I've given them $1 raise every year they've been here. And we check in and they just do all the stuff. Then he just does something else. I mean, he really literally does something else, not farming. He's like, I got an excavator and I'm going to go like make a pond, So exactly, what's your goal? What would be like nirvana for you? Great question. Bunch of questions. And I need you to tell me what you think too.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I have Mallory and Kelsey are still with me, and they ran the farm this winter. And my plan is like, keep doing that. But I'm kind of, I'm flailing right now. I'm not sure if they're doing my job or Kelsey's doing my job, Mallory's doing Jason's job. Like, do I then become more labor, or?
That's right. But you get to
retire?
pick. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Because for some growers, getting back onto picking crew would actually be their favorite thing. They're like, I don't want to do the damn QuickBooks. I don't want to make sales calls. I don't want to pack the bags. I want to plant, hoe, and pick. Hey, loop yourself back around. I don't care. Just whatever it is you want. I want you to do what you want in the end. That's what I want.
Thank you for permission.
Awesome questions. I love that.
Yeah, anyone else there? If you go to the bottom of your screen and hit that reactions button, there's a hand raise function there. So feel free to use that. Otherwise, yeah, just stick any questions, comments you have in the chat. We've got another couple minutes here, so yeah, feel free. Wendy.
We can't hear you.
I'm working on it.
There we go.
So one thing that bogs me down a lot of time is just generally the record keeping systems I set up to track these things are complex enough that mid-season, like all of my record keeping systems, I don't follow through very well.
Yep.
And so I don't know if you have direction in terms of how to lean that down enough to give the data that we want, but be able to follow through.
Yep. Well, that's a super good question. And there's, 10 different answers. So I'm going to do 3. One of them is commitment. What's your commitment to yourself in this process? What do you really want to get out of this, and how bad do you want it? The other one is then as Matt was saying, if you're going to try to go for the full Monty and you have a history of not being able to follow through on even your, sales invoicing and reconciling bank accounts during the season, that's not a good match. So let's get a good match between kind of your history, your capacity, and your appetite. And then making sure that you're keeping the right data. So like my husband, for instance, keeps track of every tank of gas that he puts in his car for no reason. And then he complains about not having time to do things. I'm like, well, maybe you should stop doing really stupid things. Let's try that. So let's not have you spend time keeping track of something that we don't care about. So let's get clear on what data is going to give you the most bang for your buck, right? And then let's talk about systems. So that's what we're going to try. That's what we're going to work on next time is, what do I need to keep track of? And how am I actually going to achieve it? And we may need to do some one-on-one work. I can't remember, Jacob, if we get time, if some people get time to work one-on-one, I can't remember when that happens.
Yeah, the first 40 participants have the hour consultation written in.
Okay. And do the first 40 have to be Ohio people?
I don't think so, no.
All right, well, that's super cool. So there may be some individual, even just 15 or 20 minutes, like bang, bang, bang. Here's all the things I do. Let's create a plan. And then I'm at 5 answers now, I think. My main answer is pay somebody else to do it, for God's sake. Some of it you can pay, right? And other people who are not you, if you tell them it's their job and you're going to pay them to do it, guess what? They do it because it's their job. It's amazing. So there's 5 out of 10 answers.
Okay, thanks, Ellen.
Awesome questions. God, you guys are just perfect. Michelle, you are so tuned into this. I just see you, like you are feeding me your energy with your eyes, and you're just like, you're like, eating this food. Anything you want to throw in for us? Oh, good.
Well, this is really specific to my business, but we only grow cut flowers, and our main product is a mixed bouquet. And so I get stuck all the time on how we've done enterprise budgets by crop, but like what I really want to know is this wholesale mixed bouquet making money? And so I'm curious if you have just any tips generally about how to do that. Like, I guess it's more enterprise than crop, and like if you can give any tips about that.
Well, I'm assuming you have different price points.
We do, but we have one main price point. Yeah.
Okay.
One big customer, one big contract. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, your wholesale price point is distinctly different than your retail price point.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need to, if we assume that the flowers are, that you're smart enough to not be growing a bunch of stupid flowers. I like the word stupid. It works for me. I'm not trying to be offensive. Let's assume you're not growing a bunch of stupid flowers. Then we're doing an enterprise analysis. A market channel analysis. So we really just need to get clear on what's the difference in the selling costs. And what I've seen happen regularly is that farmers have undercounted the cost of markets, of the high labor markets. They've underestimated what does it cost to pack and deliver those bags. They've undercounted how many labor hours, miles, furniture, whatever it is, plastic bags that go into a farmer's market setting. And so oftentimes when farmers really drill down into those enterprise hard costs and labor costs, wholesale starts to look better and better. Now, again, we're going to find out some stuff. Does that mean you make wholesale massive changes to your whole program in like one fell swoop? Probably not, right? That's too dangerous. Now, if you have a gut feeling that something sucks, and then you have numbers that say you're right, okay, let's stop doing stupid things. You knew it was stupid to begin with. Now you've proved it to yourself. Get on with it. Cut that shit out and move on. Now, if you find a new discovery, then you're like, okay, well, now you're on the watch list, right? Like going to the dentist. They put a watch on your tooth. That tooth is looking a little off. Let's make sure we check that again in 6 months. And then you can start making decisions, to do big things like cutting out a whole market channel is a big decision. And we need to prove to ourselves over time that is a smart thing to do. Does that make sense? Cool. And don't be growing stupid flowers, whatever that means to you. Yeah. And you know what? Your people, Michelle, your people have really good gut instincts as well about stupid crops. Like if you were to have a meeting with your team of whatever, 3, 4, 5, and you're like, all right, everybody, what are the stupidest things we grow? They're at least 60% right as well. All right, Jacob, I see we're getting close to some numbers here on stopping.
Yeah, we are at time, but Ellen's offered to stay for another minute if anyone has any burning questions. So last call for questions here.
Awesome question so far. Is Shiloh, are you raising your hand again? No, that's the thing most people don't know is how to unraise their hand. I never did it. Anybody else?
Cool.
All right.
Well, very good. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you again, Ellen, for a really excellent presentation. And thanks to y'all for coming. Just a quick reminder to mark your calendars for March 7th at 12 p.m. Where Ellen will be following up on this material, and which will equip you with concrete tools for your record keeping this growing season. As I mentioned, that material will culminate in a multi-part course later next winter, and more information about that will be sent out later, probably in the summer or something. But yeah, in the meantime, keep an eye out for more educational events around these issues OFA's hosting in coming months on our events page. And keep in mind, we're also offering free technical assistance for farmers in the North Central region around labor and pricing practices in partnership with Agricultural Justice Project. So feel free to email me at jacob@ofa.org for more information about that. But yeah, until then, we'll see you all in March. And yes, take care. Take good care.
Yay.
Bye,
If anybody
everyone.
has anything, I'm still here. Just ask. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Jacob, is it make sense to save the chat
Yeah, let's do
in
that.
case there's anything? I don't know. I just didn't see us. I didn't look at a single thing. But if you think that's valuable,